Russian forces continue offensive operations in Avdiivka. The Ukrainian army continues to create new defense strategies against Russian forces in the region. Although Russian troops continue their operations in the north of Avdiivka, there are also developments on the southern front. There are more hot clashes on the northern front, but the axis of attacks has started to shift towards the southern region. Conditions in the north and south are slightly different. The Ukrainian army is forming a shield with armored vehicles in the Terrikon region and on the outskirts of Stepove and supporting these units with infantry. The Russians are carrying out their attacks with infantry in the northern region. It was very difficult for the Russians to send heavy armored vehicles to and around Terrikon. Armored vehicles had to travel a long distance to reach the region. So there were more infantry in the region. The Ukrainian army hunted Russian tanks and armored vehicles that wanted to reach the front line with unmanned aerial vehicles over wide terrain. The Russians transport the infantry to the Krasnohorivka area by armored vehicles, but the armored vehicles leave the infantry behind the hot battle line. The infantry covered the distance on foot and advanced to the contact line. However, the situation is different south of Avdiivka. There are many Russian armored vehicles on the contact line here. The Russians, who are in the region with heavy armored vehicles, carry out their attacks with heavy armored vehicles and infantry. However, there are open areas here, as in the north. This is good news for the Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army can organize operations more easily in open terrain. Ukrainian drones can hunt Russian targets in open terrain. Ukrainian forces are inflicting heavy losses on Russian targets with the defense blocks formed in the region. The defense and counterattack operations in the region are carried out with strategic thinking and planning. The Ukrainian army acts more cautiously in the region without rushing. In this way, the Ukrainian army, which creates a field of action for itself, can observe the movements of Russian troops and armored vehicles in the region. These strategies will have yielded results, as Ukrainian soldiers from the 53rd Mechanized Brigade reported that a unit at least 8 Russian tanks and armored combat vehicles were detected and completely destroyed. The operation was carried out near the village of Vodiane. The Ukrainian army also released footage of the operation. The Ukrainian army destroyed a large number of Russian equipment in and around this region. The region is like a graveyard of Russian equipment. Ukrainian forces had previously carried out operations in this region and published images of these operations. With the Russian troops destroyed in the region, Ukrainian forces have managed to maintain control in the region for now. In addition, the Ukrainian army is also organizing numerous missile attacks on Russian targets in the region. Russian equipment and troops detected by HIMARS missile systems are destroyed. The Russian invaders began to experience significant problems due to the successful operations of Ukrainian troops in the left bank of the Kherson region. Andriy Kovalov, spokesman for the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, reported that, due to particularly significant losses, they were forced to transfer troops here from other directions. While intense fighting continues in the Avdiivka region, developments are also taking place on Ukraine's southern front. The Ukrainian army's recent counter-offensive operation in Kherson and its gains in the region have shocked the Russian army. Russian troops began to have problems in the region. The Russians have gradually formed defense blocks in the region and are quite strong. However, the number of soldiers and equipment lost recently has been increasing. For this reason, the Russian army is forced to send troops towards the south from the other directions. Russia continues to lose power in Kherson, while the Ukrainian army maintains control of the bridgeheads around the river. The Russian army is not waiting in a completely defensive position. Russian troops on the left bank of the Kherson region are carrying out numerous offensive operations against Ukrainian forces. They support their operations with large caliber artillery and rockets. However, the Ukrainian army in the region is preventing these attacks. It was confirmed that the Ukrainian armed forces managed to drive the Russians out of their occupation positions on the left bank of the Dnieper River and gain a foothold there. We cannot disclose the details of the special operation carried out by our units, said Andriy Kovalov, spokesman for the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. However, I would like to emphasize that there is a clear plan of action that the defense forces are following. Ukrainian Defense Forces units are currently conducting sabotage, raid and reconnaissance operations. Ukrainian troops are identifying Russian ammunition and food logistics supply routes, ammunition depots and areas where Russian military personnel are concentrated, and carrying out offensive operations against targets. While the Ukrainian army is fighting Russian troops on the left bank of the Dnieper River, it is also conducting offensive operations on the right bank of the river. Ukraine's main objective here is to protect civilians in the city of Kherson. Ukrainian forces are constantly putting pressure on Russian troops on the right bank of the Dnieper River, trying to drive the Russians away from the civilian populated area. Kovalov also made a statement about the situation. One of the main objectives of this combat operation is to push the enemy as far as possible from the right bank of the Dnieper River and protect the civilian population of the city of Kherson from constant Russian shelling, Kovalov said. At the same time, one of the most important operations of the Ukrainian army in recent times continues to yield very good results. According to Mikhailo Fedorov, Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Minister of Digital Transformation, Ukrainian defenders destroyed more than 200 pieces of military equipment of the Russian invaders within a week, with the help of drones assembled under the state project Drone Army. Drone Army, we have previously shared with you our reports on the project. We shared that the Ukrainian army neutralized a large number of Russian equipment and Russian soldiers with the Drone Army project. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Digital Transformation Mikhailo Fedorov shared new information about this project. Mikhailo Fedorov noted that the fighters of the defense forces continue to successfully turn enemy equipment into scrap metal with the help of such aerial vehicles. The minister noted that the Drone Army project has caused millions of dollars in damage to Russia, within the scope of the drone project from 13th to 20th of November. 39 tanks, 31 howitzers and cannons, 41 armored combat vehicles, 66 trucks and special vehicles, 19 self-propelled artillery systems, 4 units of radio and technical equipment, 5 air defense systems, 3 mortars, 132 strongpoint, 6 rocket salvo fire system, 4 ammunition fuel storage, 89 military personnel, reportedly destroyed. With these attacks, Russia suffered millions of dollars in losses. The Russians also continue to lose a large number of soldiers and equipment, especially on the Avdiivka front. And this situation is causing incredible economic damage to Russia. Russian leader Vladimir Putin seems helpless in the face of strong offensive operations and projects carried out by the Ukrainian army. However, the Russian army lost another 640 soldiers on the front line the other day. A large number of Russian heavy and light equipment was destroyed in the operations carried out by the Ukrainian army with unmanned aerial vehicles in and around Avdiivka. We will continue to come with the latest developments on the front line with our daily reports. You can share your comments on the developments with us.